You're sitting in your car outside the electronics store. Your phone works perfectly fine. It's 2 years old, maybe 3. The battery lasts all day. The camera takes good pictures. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But the new model just dropped. Your coworker showed up to the office with one yesterday. Your brother-in-law posted about his on Facebook. And now you're here, in the parking lot, telling yourself you're just going to look. 20 minutes later, you're walking out with a box under your arm and a $1,200 charge on your credit card that you'll be paying off for the next 8 months. You feel excited for about 6 hours. Then you feel nothing. Then if you're honest with yourself, you feel slightly sick. You just said yes to something you didn't need, didn't plan for, and can't actually afford. And the worst part? This isn't the first time. It won't be the last. There's a version of you that walks into that same store, looks at the same phone, feels the same pull, and walks out empty-handed. That version isn't more disciplined than you. They're not immune to wanting things. They just understand something you haven't figured out yet. Saying no isn't about deprivation. It's about protection. And the people who master this one skill, the ability to decline things that feel good right now, end up with something most people never get. Options. Every yes is a small financial fire. Most people spend their entire lives putting out fires they started themselves, wondering why they never get ahead. The answer is simple. They never learned that no is the most valuable word in personal finance. Here's what nobody tells you about money. The skill that matters most isn't budgeting. It isn't investing. It isn't negotiating your salary, or picking the right index fund, or finding the best credit card rewards program. It's saying no. No to the dinner you can't afford. No to the vacation everyone else is taking. No to the car upgrade. No to the wedding you'd have to fly across the country to attend. No to the round of drinks. No to the latest gadget. No to the subscription service that auto-renews every month. Every single financial decision you make is either a yes or a no, and the people who build wealth aren't the ones who say yes to the right things. They're the ones who say no to almost everything. But here's the problem. Saying no feels terrible. It feels like losing, like missing out, like admitting you can't afford something, which in our culture is basically admitting you're failing at life. So instead, you say yes. You say yes when your friends invite you to the expensive restaurant, even though you just looked at your bank account this morning and winced. You say yes to the wedding gift that costs more than you spend on groceries in a week. You say yes to your kid's school fundraiser, even though you're already behind on your own goals. And every time you say yes when you should have said no, you're making a trade. You're trading your future financial stability for the temporary comfort of not feeling awkward right now. The psychology behind this is brutal. There's a concept called loss aversion. Humans feel the pain of losing something twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining something of equal value. When you say no to the dinner, you feel the immediate loss. You're missing out. You're not part of the group. You're the person who can't afford it, and everyone knows it. When you say yes, you feel the immediate relief. You're included. You're normal. Nobody's judging you. The pain of that $1,200 purchase, that comes later, in small monthly installments that you've learned to ignore. Your brain is wired to avoid immediate pain and seek immediate pleasure. And saying no is immediate pain. The consequences of saying yes are delayed, abstract, easy to rationalize away. This is why people with money problems don't have income problems. They have boundary problems. Think about the last 5 times you spent money you didn't plan to spend. I'm not talking about emergencies. I'm talking about discretionary purchases. The concert tickets, the dinner out, the impulse buy at Target, the upgrade you didn't need. How many of those purchases happened because you couldn't say no? Not to a salesperson, but to yourself, to the feeling. To the narrative in your head that said, you deserve this, you work hard, everyone else has one, it's not that much money. Now add those purchases up over a year, over 5 years, over a decade. That's not a budgeting problem, that's a boundary problem, and it's costing you everything. Let's run the actual numbers because this is where it gets uncomfortable. Meet Sarah. She's 29, she makes $68,000 a year. After taxes, she takes home about $50,000. She's not struggling, she's not drowning. She just never seems to get ahead. Here's what saying yes costs. Sarah in a single month. Her friends invite her to a bachelorette party in Nashville. Flight, hotel, meals, activities. She doesn't want to be the person who says no, so she puts $800 on her credit card. Her coworker is selling Girl Scout cookies for his daughter. Sarah doesn't even like Girl Scout cookies, but she buys 4 boxes for $24 because saying no feels rude. She's scrolling Instagram and sees an ad for a skincare product. The algorithm knows her. It knows she's 29 and starting to notice fine lines. The product is $68. She clicks buy. Her mom's birthday is coming up. Sarah wants to be thoughtful. She spends $120 on a gift that her mom will appreciate but doesn't need. Her apartment complex is having a resident appreciation event with catered food and drinks. There's a suggested donation of $20. Sarah pays it even though she's a resident, and this is supposed to be for her. Her brother asks if she wants to split the cost of a birthday gift for their dad. She already bought something separately, but she doesn't want to explain that, so she Venmos him $75. A clothing brand she follows is having a sale. 40% off. She's been eyeing a jacket for weeks. It's now $108 instead of $180. She's saving $72, right? She buys it. Add it up. 800 plus 24 plus 68 plus 120 plus 20 plus 75 plus 108. That's $1,215 in a single month on things she didn't plan for, didn't budget for, and wouldn't have spent money on if she'd just been able to say no. That's not even counting the normal yeses, the streaming services she forgot she's paying for, the gym membership she uses twice a month, the premium coffee on the way to work because she's tired and it's only $5. Sarah's income is $68,000. She should be saving at least $10,000 a year without breaking a sweat. Instead, she's got $900 in her savings account and calls it an emergency fund. She's not bad with money, she's bad at saying no. Now let's look at the flip side. Meet Marcus. He's 31. He makes $72,000 a year, almost identical to Sarah. Marcus has a rule. He doesn't say yes to anything that costs money, unless he's had 24 hours to think about it. Not big purchases. Everything. The concert tickets, the dinner invitation, the gadget on Amazon, the subscription. All of it goes through the same filter. Wait one day. Here's what happens when you insert a 24-hour delay between impulse and action. Marcus's friends invite him to a weekend trip. He doesn't say no immediately. He says, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you tomorrow." The next day, he looks at his budget. He's got $600 allocated for discretionary spending this month. The trip would cost $900. He texts the group, "I'm going to sit this one out, but let's plan something local soon." Was that painful? Yes. Did anyone actually care? No. They said no worries and moved on with their lives. A coworker mentions a new restaurant everyone's trying. Marcus doesn't commit in the moment. He goes home, checks his budget, sees he's already over on dining out this month. The next day, he suggests getting coffee instead. Same social connection, 92% cheaper. An ad follows him around the internet for a watch he doesn't need. In the moment, he wants it. Badly. But he's got his rule. 24 hours. By the next day, the wanting has faded. He doesn't buy it. Over the course of a year, Marcus says no to roughly $38,000 worth of things that Sarah says yes to. That's not because he makes more money. It's because he's inserted friction between desire and action. And here's the part that matters. That $38,000 doesn't just sit in his checking account. It goes to work. $10,000 into his Roth IRA, $10,000 into his 401k, $10,000 into an index fund. $8,000 stays liquid in a high-yield savings account earning 4.5%. In 10 years, if Marcus keeps this up, he'll have roughly $400,000 in invested assets. Sarah, if she keeps saying yes to everything, will have maybe $40,000. And that's being generous. Same income, same city, same opportunities. The only difference is one of them learned to say no. But here's what makes this so hard. Society has turned saying no into a moral failure. If you say no to the wedding, you're a bad friend. If you say no to the fundraiser, you're selfish. If you say no to the family vacation, you don't value relationships. If you say no to the dinner, you're cheap. We've built an entire culture around the idea that spending money equals caring, and not spending money equals not caring. This is financially catastrophic because it means every time you protect your own financial stability, you have to fight against the social narrative that you're doing something wrong. Your friends don't see your bank account. They don't see the credit card balance. They don't see you lying awake at 3 a.m. doing math in your head trying to figure out if you can make rent. They just see you saying no, and they interpret that through the lens of their own financial situation, which might be completely different from yours. Your coworker who invites you to the expensive restaurant might have no student loans, a partner who splits all expenses, and parents who gave them the down payment on their house. They're not being malicious when they suggest the $60 per person dinner. They genuinely don't understand why you'd say no. But you can't explain all of that without sounding defensive or making it weird. So instead, you say yes. You put it on the card, and you stay broke. Here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Most of the people pressuring you to say yes are not financially stable themselves. They're just better at hiding it. The friend planning the bachelorette weekend in Miami, she's got $14,000 in credit card debt. The coworker with the new truck, he's got a 72-month loan at 8% interest. The family member who always suggests expensive group gifts, they haven't contributed to their retirement in 3 years. Everyone's performing financial stability while quietly panicking, and part of that performance is getting other people to say yes to things, because if everyone's spending money they don't have, then nobody's failing. You're all just living life. But this is a race to the bottom, and the only way to win is to stop racing. Saying no is not a rejection of people, It's a rejection of the idea that your financial stability should be negotiable based on social pressure. You can love your friends and not go to Nashville. You can value your family and skip the expensive group gift. You can be a good person and say no to the fundraiser. The relationships that can't survive you having boundaries around money are relationships that were always going to cost you more than they gave you. Let's talk about what saying no actually sounds like, because this is where people get stuck. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need to justify your financial decisions to people who aren't paying your bills. When someone invites you to something you can't afford, here's what you say: "I can't make that work right now, but I'd love to do something else soon." That's it. No explanation about your budget. No apology for being responsible. No detailed breakdown of your financial situation. Most people will say no problem and move on. The ones who push back, who make you feel guilty, who question why you can't just make it work, those are the people who don't respect your boundaries. And their opinion of you is not worth going into debt over. Here's another scenario. You're at dinner with friends. Everyone's ordering appetizers and drinks and dessert. You know this bill is going to be split evenly. You're looking at $60 minimum for a meal you didn't want prepared in a way that's going to destroy your monthly budget. You have two options. Say yes and resent everyone at the table while you eat, or say no up front. "Hey, I'm trying to keep my spending down this month. I'm just going to get an entree and pay separately if that's cool." Will that feel awkward? Yes. Will anyone actually care? Probably not. And if they do, that's information about them, not about you. The discomfort of saying no lasts 5 seconds. The financial consequences of saying yes last months. There's a concept in economics called opportunity cost. Every dollar you spend on one thing is a dollar you can't spend on something else. When you say yes to the $800 weekend trip, you're saying no to $800 in your emergency fund. When you say yes to the subscription service you barely use, you're saying no to $60 a year in compound interest. Every yes is a no to something else. The question is whether you're making that choice consciously or just letting it happen to you. The people who build wealth aren't smarter than you. They're not making more money than you. They're not depriving themselves of joy. They've just figured out that saying no to the things that don't matter creates space to say yes to the things that do. Marcus still goes out with friends. He just suggests the places. He still takes vacations. He just plans them 6 months in advance and budgets for them. He still buys things he wants. He just waits to make sure he still wants them tomorrow. Sarah says yes to everything and wonders why she's always stressed about money. Marcus says no to most things and sleeps fine at night. Same income, different boundaries, completely different life. Here's what happens when you get good at saying no. You stop bleeding money on things that don't improve your life. You build an emergency fund that actually functions as insurance instead of being a psychological placeholder. You start investing consistently because you're not constantly redirecting money to cover impulse purchases. You feel less stress because you're not lying to yourself about what you can afford. But more than that, you reclaim agency. You stop being a passenger in your own financial life, just reacting to whatever spending opportunity presents itself. Every no is a decision. Every yes is a decision. The difference is that when you default to yes, you're letting other people and marketing algorithms and social pressure make your decisions for you. When you default to no, you're in control. You're deciding where your money goes based on your priorities, not based on who asked loudest or which ad followed you around the internet most effectively. This isn't about never spending money. It's about spending money on purpose. If you love concerts and that's your thing, great. Budget for it. Plan for it. Say yes to the shows you actually want to see. But that means saying no to the random dinner invitations and the impulse purchases and the subscriptions you don't use, so that when the concert you actually care about comes around, you can say yes without stress. Financial freedom isn't about having enough money to say yes to everything. It's about having enough boundaries to say no to most things. So the things you say yes to actually matter. You're never going to feel rich if every dollar is already spoken for before it hits your account. You're never going to feel secure if you can't afford to say no. The skill isn't making more money. The skill is protecting the money you already have from the 1,000 small leaks that most people don't even notice until they're drowning. Saying no is not deprivation, it's defense. And the people who master it don't end up with less. They end up with more of what actually matters. Your future self is depending on your current self to say no to things that feel good for 5 minutes but cost you years of compounding returns. That phone you didn't need. That trip you couldn't afford. That dinner you said yes to because you didn't want to seem cheap. None of it mattered. None of it made your life better. It just made you broker. The ultimate money skill isn't earning, it's declining. And once you understand that every no is a yes to your future, the math becomes simple. Say no now, have options later, or say yes to everything and spend your entire life wondering why you're always behind. The choice is yours, but the consequences aren't optional. Did the video help you? Subscribe and watch this video that will change the way you manage your finances, starting with $10,000.